It's the Tuesday News Roundup, and we're talking about the Philly and regional impact of LeBron James becoming a Philadelphia 76er. Plus, can you spot a fake LeBron James post versus a real one? And how do we keep the city's taxis in service? It's Tuesday, July 28th. I'm Trinae Marie, and here's what Philly's talking about. Where is the first place you are taking the king, LeBron James, when he lands in Philly?
I'll say for me, I know athletes have to abide by a specific diet, but if he's looking for a cheat day, we're going out for pizza because I want to take him to Down North Pizza.
Oh, that's a good one, Siani.
I will be bold and say it is one of my favorite places in Philly to get pizza, maybe one of the best. That is my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. And I think, it's great for the flavors. Its mission of, employing formerly incarcerated people, I think is something that he would really love to support, when thinking about all his different philanthropy. And it's not in a touristy part of the city. So you're getting the real Philadelphia, getting the real community. So it's the three big hits right there. So me, LeBron, let's go get some pizza.
Nice. That is Siani Colon, our newsletter editor. Santiago, where are you taking LeBron?
I would go maybe a pretty basic route. I don't think logistically this would work because he would attract way too many people, and it's already crowded enough as it is. But I think like Reading Terminal Market, I mean, it's a classic spot where a bunch of tourists go. Also, locals go there all the time to eat lunch, breakfast, whatever it may be. So I would want LeBron to at least see how we have one of the most unique markets. And not to mention, I guess you could hit like some other, basic touristy spots right after, maybe Liberty Bell, like after, stuff like that, just to be like, hey, like this is like the core history of our city. But, you could really knock out a lot of different foods all at once. So I would say Reading Terminal, but logistically this would never work. And I think this is going to be an interesting thing with LeBron coming to Philly is like, how outside will he really be? Because it's not like moving the president around, but there's
we do call him the
king.
That is Santiago Ortiz, the founder of the media company No Shorts. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I mean, it's so interesting that you both said food. You straight up went food. When I think about LeBron, I think about who he is as a man, a husband, a father, an athlete, a philanthropist. And I feel like to really get a sense of like who we are as Philadelphians and what this city really is, I'm going to take him to the bottom of the Art Museum steps. And we are going to see Joe Frazier's statue. And the reason why I say this is because and we all know that Smoking Joe was the muse behind what we now have as a fictional Philadelphia icon as Rocky. But I think like if you dig deep into the history of who Joe Frazier was for our city, it was almost like he was the LeBron of the time in the boxing world. And now that we have this figure in the basketball world coming and will wear that red, the white, the blue uniform that says Phila across his chest, I feel like we got to take him to see Smoking Joe.
Got to take it back to all the greats who came before and all the greats that are coming now.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm glad they have like a real boxer as well at the Art Museum steps. I think, I like that both of them are in the same space and more people will learn about both,
Okay, so this was huge news last week. It broke out Friday afternoon. I was recording tomorrow's episode and my son was like, Mom, we got LeBron. And I was like, what? Wait. I was trying to mute myself. But I mean, the internet took over. I saw so many memes, so much stuff. Santiago, where were you when the news broke that LeBron was going to be a Sixer?
I was driving in the car. I was picking up my cousin from the airport. He's still here, like in Philly visiting me. And I post and edit most of the stuff like I do on No Shorts, but I do have two interns, which are great, like Amelia and Joe. And I just get a text from like our like kind of like intern group chat. It's like, we got LeBron. And then like the other one was like, no way. And I'm sitting there like, okay, there's been so many false alarms. There's been so many I'm like, okay, like you maybe got tricked by like some random, thing. So instantly, but I'm like, this is serious enough. And I do like, they are smart. Like, I don't think they would get tricked, but anybody can get tricked. So I don't want to jump to conclusions. I hit FaceTime. We do like a whole group FaceTime. I was like, what was the source? What was the source? And they were like, no, it's ESPN. And I was really driving to the airport. I was probably halfway, and it took me like 30 minutes to really actually get excited because I kind of just didn't believe it. I was like, all right, hold on. Like, let's not get too excited. But that's where I was. I was just on the way to the airport. And then by the time I got to the airport, and that was the first thing I told my cousin. I didn't even say hi first. I was like, yo, we got LeBron. Like, I think I gave him a hug, but I didn't say anything. I then just said like, oh, like, we got LeBron. He's like, no way. And then I like pulled up my phone and it was like 6 ABC Inquirer. And once I saw the local channels too, I was like, okay, yeah, like it's for sure a thing.
So this is what the news was last week. ESPN had reported that James signed a 2-year, nearly $8 million contract with the Sixers. And this is an athlete who's a 4-time champion. He's been with the Lakers for 8 seasons. Siani, you were writing the newsletter for the week. What does this say about Philly? What does this moment mean for our city?
Well, I've always been saying that Philly is the center of the universe. And I think 2026
Obviously
has definitely proven that. Like, we are just on top at this point. And I think everyone else is starting to realize the fact that we are a very dedicated fan base. We are very much a sports town. We bring the energy, whether it's the playoffs or the regular season. We are there no matter what. And that is what is attracting all these different athletes to come here because they see the energy, they see the hunger. We are starving. We desperately need a championship at this point. And, they see what we have to offer and they have something to offer to us. And we have all these athletes, like Saquon, like Bryce, who chose us and they chose us for a reason. And I think other athletes are going to see that, and hopefully we will build up our teams more and finally get some other championships for our other teams.
For sure. And also, I think we should mention that buried underneath the LeBron James news of being a Sixer, we also have the former Boston Celtics star Jaylen Brown as well.
There's probably a factor into it too. But with LeBron, that's like the name that's drawing people, which I want to ask you guys. We saw immediately the tickets, the prices were going up.
Oh, my God.
I went to my first Sixers game just this year, and I'm glad I did because I probably will not be able to next year. And I want to know how you think that's going to impact presence of the fans at the games. Because, this past season, we've seen resale tickets like as low as $7.
I know, remember those
arena
days?
wasn't filled. And then you had like the takeover with Knicks fans because what was unaffordable to us was affordable to New Yorkers based on what's being priced at MSG. So do you think him being here is going to attract fans to come back, or is it going to price us out even more?
I predict that it'll price us out. And we'll probably stick to our local bars or stay at home to watch the game. But I also imagine like it's going to attract fans across the country, across the world. You're going to see a Lakers jersey. You're going to see a Cavaliers jersey that says James on it. That's what I predict. And I think the preseason matchup against the Celtics on October 16th, the tickets jumped from $107 to more than $500. I used to sit in me and the kids, me and my 2 kids, that's 3 seats. I can get it like section 100 something. I would pay with like all the fees and stuff, like $100 for 3 of us. And I would have enough to go get some chicken beef fries, some crab fries.
So you paying that $500, Santiago?
Maybe not for a preseason game, but yeah. I am trying to figure out a partial season ticket plan, see if I can get like 10 games, maybe split it with a friend to get 5. To me, I think it's worth it, but I think what comes with all that international recognition, like LeBron is one of like the few U.S. athletes that are like known internationally, because like with soccer players, their reach does go kind of globally, but with U.S. athletes, it's very rare to have a LeBron where everybody kind of knows him. And part of that international national hype is that those prices are going to go up like crazy. I will try to snag a handful of seats. I actually saw LeBron and Bronny play, when the Lakers came into town like a season or two ago. But I do want to kind of be part of the action for sure.
Mm-hmm. Is LeBron James going to be on No Shorts?
Man, like that's a tough one because he really is like that large of a creator, not a creator, like I don't know, like a celebrity, an athlete,
Presence.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, even within, like the internet, very few, if any, social media pages have been able to get LeBron in YouTube videos, streams. I think Kai Cenat had LeBron on stream, and I think it might have been the first time he ever appeared on any internet stream. So whereas some athletes understand like this will really help promote me a lot, LeBron is just so big that, he doesn't care too much about needing to, pander and get a lot of social media clicks. I'm hoping I can, since it's social media, I'm hoping I can get some sort of like 10-second clip with LeBron at some point. But it's notoriously hard to get him into, social media content, just like, his team or the Sixers aren't going to be like, hey, we want, LeBron in one of your videos. Could you come at 1 p.m. tomorrow? Like if I get LeBron in a clip, it's going to be something candid, something like super quick, like where it was just like a spur of the moment. So, but maybe if he's here for 2 years, I think maybe yes.
You got to be hopeful. And I want to bring this up because the original question was, what does LeBron being a Sixer mean to Philly? And I saw this post from Liz Beecroft, who is a licensed psychotherapist. And Liz posted this thread that said, Philly collectively lost its mind today. The psychology of it all. Liz works with athletes and said that when sports news like this breaks, people aren't just reacting to basketball. They're reacting to what it could mean. Hope, possibility, a fresh start. And says that even though like no games have been played, our brains are designing a future that we hope will unfold. So we're sort of like manifesting already. We're manifesting the wins, the championship, right? And says that sports have never just been sports here in Philly. Sports are a part of our identity. Sports are a part of family tradition. Sports are a language here, literally go Birds. Sports are meaning and belonging. And she says, hope is all good for our mental health.
Okay, but aside from hope, I do want to see a championship, though. So let's get to work.
Manifest.
I mean, I think that's a very good point, though. How well the Sixers team does with LeBron joining will for sure like affect the impact that it has. If it's kind of like a Michael Jordan to the Wizards where it's, it's kind of the end of the career and it's like, it's kind of gimmicky. For sure, like more people will know about Philly more, it'll bring some sort of boom. But if it's kind of just like he's washed, it's the end, we fall short in the playoffs, then absolutely like the impact won't be as big as a championship comes to Philly, and now internationally, the spotlight is on Philadelphia. Internationally, you have LeBron fans, rooting for Philadelphia, wanting Philadelphia, to explode. So I think it's undeniable that there will be some sort of like impact, especially in like the, national and international like relevancy of Philly. But it absolutely does matter how well the Sixers team performs in terms of how big that impact will be.
Along with James, like I mentioned, we have Jaylen Brown. He's joining Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, and Joel Embiid. Well, God bless his knees. So I don't know. I am with you, Siani. I'm with you, Santiago. I think I'm going to remain hopeful.
Oh, I am as well. 100%. I love this team for sure.
And do you guys have your merch already? Because it's flying off the shelves.
I will get my AI generated Wildwood t-shirt with LeBron on it.
Oh my God. Speaking of AI, that brings me to our next segment, which we'll talk about after this break. We were having a conversation in the first segment about kind of like social media creation, but let's just talk about the memes that have come out since the LeBron news broke. The Montgomery County Instagram page decided to rename its towns. These are the names. Kenwood is being renamed Baller Kenwood. Jenkintown is now Jane Kingtown. King of Prussia, King of James, and Abington, Ab King Ton. I then saw LeBron. I saw Edgecombe, Maxey, Embiid, and Brown leaning on a car in a Wawa parking lot. I saw LeBron sitting outside of Abbott Elementary, and all of the teachers were surrounded by him. And I saw a meme of LeBron and his wife, Savannah James. They were, I guess, out on a date or about to go on a date. And Savannah was rocking like a full Sixers outfit and red, white, and blue colors. Obviously, this was AI. So I'm really curious, going back to like maybe possibly misinformation, folks spreading rumors, and it's like, no, these images are not real. How should we, keep creating media, or do we have to do more media literacy for our audiences now that we have this huge presence coming into our city? Or is this just all fun and games and people can tell that this is not real?
I mean, I think it's relatively fun and games in this scenario. But of course, like when it comes to AI and images and news, like eventually there's kind of a gray area. I think it would be cool if the platforms were maybe stricter, where like there could be some sort of like AI generated label, like, because you can police yourself and put your own label if you do something like that. But probably 99% of AI slop generating posts like don't actually do that.
Right.
I think like France, like over a decade ago, like passed some regulation where if you had like a model and it was like photoshopped in any way, you had to have a label. And I don't know what like the result of that was. I just remember like reading about that. So I think it would be cool if like, especially when it comes to like news stories, that eventually happened. Like there was like a bit more regulation on it. At least like, hey, you're not going to stop people from making like AI posts, but at least like, hey, let's have just some sort of sticker that's always there. So at least people, are like, oh, right, like this is just for a joke.
But there is a sense that like you said, like it is funny. And these posts do resonate with fans or like people that love like Philly culture. How do you approach your social posts, Santiago?
I mean, I don't really use AI in that sense. Like I think from the beginning, I like to post original content. And I don't just mean like social media pages that will just post like highlights, or they'll post edits, or they'll, aggregate other content and then kind of like channel it in their pages. Like there might be a Sixers fan page, and what they do is they take news of the Sixers, they take highlights from the Sixers, they take funny snippets of like other the Sixers players' social media, and then they all aggregate it into like one fan page. So if you like the Sixers, of course, you're going to follow that Sixers fan page. That's like, I'm not like an aggregator in that sense. Like to me, I just find stuff I want to talk about, make videos about, go visit, and I actually make original content on that. So for me, I don't really have like I've never been in that lane. So like to me, it wouldn't make sense for my page to just start posting like AI generated LeBron memes or something,
Right.
So for me, I don't think it's like I have to like battle that like ethical dilemma or anything. Like, I don't know. To me, I just don't really use AI in my stuff, because basically when you follow No Shorts, it's like original Philly/PA content. But I don't know. It is interesting because like I will say the line does get blurry with AI content, because I saw there was a realtor in New Jersey who did like an AI. I mean, I guess it could have just been Photoshop, but it is like an AI photo of like him and LeBron holding like a sign, and it's like just bought the real estate. And you look at this guy's profile, he has like maybe like 1,500 followers, so it's a pretty small page. None of the other posts have a lot of likes and views, but this one had probably got like 100,000 likes or 50,000 likes or whatever it was. And now there's a ton of people who think, oh, this is the realtor that like sold LeBron whatever house he's going to live in New Jersey.
Right.
And now maybe you have people, going to you thinking, oh, like this guy's connected with LeBron. Like, let me use him as my realtor. And now all of a sudden you're like,
it's getting
like,
tricky. It's getting murky.
It's like a gray area, because you're not like, you are kind of just lying. But, it is kind of a joke. Like, I think if you really like take the time to look at the page, you're like, yeah, this is a joke.
In this age of social media and news making and content creation, I feel like it's like blurred lines sometimes when it comes to the posts that we see from formal journalists, then people who call themselves content creators, and then pages that are like AI generated or just a collection of like random information.
I feel like for me, maybe this is self-reassurance, considering the state of the industry, but at least speaking with the type of creators who they're kind of like aggregating the different reports that journalists are doing and like reading off of some of the different articles. At least it goes to show that at the end of the day, we're always going to need journalism, because where else are they sourcing that information to begin with? They didn't do the original reporting themselves. They're still relying on the research and reporting that other journalists have done. It is a nice way to spread that information out there. Please always credit your source when you're doing so. But there's definitely a balance between who is actually doing the original reporting there versus all the AI slop videos that Reels keeps recommending me.
Yeah, it's definitely true. I think it's kind of silly when internet creators will, talk about like journalism is dead, or like we're the new media, we're this. And and I think we absolutely need aggregators, because there's so much like different news and chaos sometimes, especially like on the internet, that like it's nice to have like someone is an aggregator who will like compile like a bunch of reporting. But I'll make a bunch of informational videos on my page, and I cannot do that without journalists doing the reporting. That's why I show snippets of the articles I'm reading from. Like I cite the sources, and maybe hopefully another journalist or another creator can now see all the random sources I took and then build off that or something. So it is very true. Like we do not get the internet social media aggregators without the original reporting. And a lot of people for sure forget that.
So you kind of talked about, what your own personal guidelines are when it comes to the content that you create and how you're building trust. And you mentioned some of the local reporting is what you do, but also you've had to range from, skits filled with hyper local jokes and obscuring the most obscure parts of PA and, talking to local celebs. So like, how do you balance the levity with the more serious content? And, what has resonated with your audience the most as you've done this through the years?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have like a strict code of how much informational videos to do versus how much comedy stuff versus how much sports stuff versus how much food review stuff.
For example, right? Yeah. Let's break down one of your videos. It literally is Fishtown, and you are getting like held up by someone in a ski mask, and then you're kind of like being satirical about just like safety and like how it's different. And now you then are seen carrying a canvas tote and drinking matcha and just like casually walking down the block. And the same person that was holding you up within that ski mask is also drinking a matcha. So what like message are you telling?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that one's a weird one where it both hits like comedy, but also like, I guess, there's social commentary or political undertones. I don't know, like to me, I think this is sometimes also the benefit of being like a smaller social media page is like, if I'm the New York Times, I really have to maybe think about like, I don't know, the implications of making a comedic skit or whatever. But I don't know, to me, it's more just, there's been a lot of new energy in Fishtown. There's, some people, will be like, Fishtown's become incredibly gentrified. And I have friends and I know people who, used to live in Fishtown, like, or who have like experience being around Fishtown 20, 30 years ago. And they're like, wow, like it's a totally different neighborhood. One of my girlfriend's coworkers who's like 40 or 50 is like, yeah, I used to live in Fishtown 30 years ago. And it's like, we would not call it like the millennial hipster spot of the city. So to me, I was like, oh, let's make a little skit where we just talk about how like, it used to be a place where maybe you could get your car stolen or, you could get mugged. And then now it's, filled with millennial hipsters who love drinking matcha. And it's kind of funny to see comments reacting because then they're like, well, you could still get your car stolen in Fishtown nowadays. And I'm like, yeah, like you can get your car stolen anywhere.
Right.
It's kind of like, yeah, it's absolutely a stereotype that's happening. I showed one extreme and I showed the other extreme. It's like, neither is true at all. It's more just like, wow, hey, let's kind of laugh about how Fishtown has absolutely changed.
Well, times are definitely changing, and we'll talk about how so in the next segment.
Well, if you want to avoid getting your car mugged from Fishtown, you could always take a Lyft, take an Uber, or a taxi. Do either of you guys still take taxis or ever have?
I forgot they existed, honestly.
I mean, the last time I took a taxi probably was like 2014. And it was probably one of those black minivans from Germantown Taxi Cab. And I probably had to, I didn't have a car then. I was living in Germantown. So I probably needed to like go to the grocery store or something like that. Which also, like, you know what I don't see anymore? Do you guys remember hackmans?
Who?
Those were the men who would stand outside of the grocery stores and they would call out to like shoppers asking if they need a ride. They go, hackman, you need a ride. That guy is gone.
He must have been gone a long time because I don't remember him.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I feel like some Philadelphians who are listening, they'll remember. The reason why we're bringing this up is because obviously city taxi cabs, the fleets are shrinking. So the app for calling taxi cabs is called Curb, which has been around for some time now. And then there's a new app in other cities called Curb Flow. And that app would allow taxi drivers to tap into Uber technology to get rides. And this is ironic because taxi cabs can tap into the tech industry that upended the taxi industry to begin with. So Curbflow and Uber were asking PPA, the Philadelphia Parking Authority, which regulates the taxi industry, to allow taxi drivers to get Uber fares through its app. But it turns out you would have to change Pennsylvania state law to make any of this happen. So it's basically on hold right now.
But other cities have successfully kind of tackled this. It just seems like it's a PA thing that's, at least for now, not possible.
Right.
Like everything else in Pennsylvania, cough minimum wage. I haven't used Curb yet. I've had it downloaded for some time because I have heard good things. I think the current challenge right now is their ability to be able to take over any requests that Uber and Lyft can't fulfill and be able to, you know, cut down that idling time and just get people going to where they need to go.
So like, I'm thinking like an example, like if you have to catch that 5:30 flight, you're leaving your house around 3:30, depending on what day of the week it is. And so the chances of you getting someone who's driving Uber or Lyft might be slim.
I mean, it's hard now. I rely on Lyft a lot if SEPTA isn't a convenient option for me. My credit card statements are horrendous with how many Lyft charges are on there. But the problem is I've noticed it seems to be a shortage of available drivers. Like sometimes Wait and Save just is not an option anymore, which I can't stand. And just the wait times are terrible. I mean, speaking of airports, I was just there last week and a 10-minute wait of, you know, trying to get a good enough option after refreshing the app several times and trying to get a better wait time. That turned into maybe like a 30-minute wait. And I'm just seeing taxi after taxi pass by and I'm like, dang, I kind of wish I just used something else if Lyft was not going to be a reliable option right now.
So what held you up? Why didn't you say, hey, taxi?
My thing is like, if you cancel your ride after a certain time, you still get charged. And even if it was a few dollars, I was just being very stubborn. And it's like, I'm not canceling this ride. You can cancel on me. And then I won't get charged, but I'm not canceling on you.
So basically, the Lyft app locked you in and kept you, and you couldn't escape. You couldn't hail for that taxi cab.
Stubborn as ever. But I think
it's unfamiliar territory.
Exactly. Because, you know, haven't been on it. I've heard good things of like, you know, because of the no surge pricing and, you know, the drivers need that commercial license and safety inspection. So there's like a little bit more like checks and balances when it comes to the taxis as opposed to like Lyft and Uber. But the pricing, I think, really depends. Like I just checked before this conversation. If I were to get a ride to PHL from my house, I'm like the opposite end of the city. How much different the prices are going to be. And for Lyft, it's like $51.99 for standard 4-minute wait. And then Curb was $53.99. And then say if I was putting, okay, what about if I'm going to the Fittler Club where we sometimes record? Curb was $33.58 and then Lyft was $29.92. So like at the moment, Lyft seems like the better option, you know, unless you're like, well, more of my money's going to the driver if I take Curb. But if you're just like, I just want to pay the cheapest option, Don't know.
Yeah.
I think I also I don't know how to hail a taxi anymore. I feel like that's just not a skill I think my generation really grew up with. I would be a little too nervous to be do I put my thumb out? I'm just checking. So yeah, for me, it would just be I think I would be in the same situation where I would just wait for an Uber or a Lyft at the airport, because I would just be not know how to, I just have never really picked up a taxi from the airport. Although honestly, I usually just take the regional rail, back.
Oh,
to
you
the city.
do? Okay.
Oh, I love it. It's perfect. You get right back to where you're going. There's, they have it every 30 minutes.
What about late night? Because sometimes I fly in and it's pretty late. It's after 11.
That's why I usually try to pick flights, because I think I don't know, regional rail operates from 5 to midnight or something around there. So I usually try to see if I can book flights where I can take the regional in, before or after. I've taken Ubers or Lyfts from the airport as well, but I also try to plan around that a little bit. And this is why we just need public transit investment. But I would love to see more licensed drivers out there. I would love to see a taxi boom in theory. I mean, it's kind of crazy that they used to be charging, hundreds of thousands of dollars for a taxi license. And now,
Right.
It's, just above 10,000, give or take. So I guess to me, I don't like using Uber. You never know who's driving your car. They're not pro drivers. So, I would love to see taxis kind of boom, but it just, I don't think it's just possible.
So maybe what we can do to help save the taxi industry, we're going to take LeBron on a taxi tour around Philly. We're going to go to down north. We're going to go to Reading Terminal, the art museum. This is how we save it.
I mean, if there's someone who could do it, it probably could be LeBron. If he makes it cool, if he's I love taking the taxi in Philly.
Oh, everyone's going to take a damn taxi.
It would move the needle. It really would.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me in this conversation, Santiago and Siani.
Absolutely.
See you guys.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. If you enjoyed this Tuesday News Roundup, share this with a friend. Also, rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. And don't forget, you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Philly neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.